Well, thank God everybody at home didn't hear me say what I just said.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't heard you say what you just said.
For everyone at home, I accidentally just flirted with Sarah without even meaning to. I made a joke and it sounded really wrong, but I'm not going to repeat it.
I don't think that there's much of a line to cross, but that was pretty close to it.
I love when Americans talk about lines because it always makes you think about Friends. You know, he goes, "The line is a dot to you." You've got to say it. Say it for me. Come on, please.
Over the line. You're so far past the line. You can't even see the line. The line is a dot to you.
Yes! Yay! I'm glad we started in a really good mood today at the Women's Soccer Show because we're not in a very good mood, are we, Sarah?
For about 2 months, we were hyping one game that was happening this Saturday. We were so excited. And then it got postponed due to COVID. So for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, this is Lyon versus PSG, what would absolutely be the deciding game of the French league. And it got postponed.
Yeah. We were just talking about it all through the week as well. And I think because we're on different time zones, I heard first and I text you being like, dude, you're not even going to believe me. Like, you must have woken up like, are you joking?
It was literally what I woke up to. I woke up and looked at my phone and saw that. And I was like, for fuck's sake, you have got to be kidding me.
Such a bummer, but at the same time, at first I thought it was going to be some menial excuse or something like that to try and get out of playing in the week leading up to obviously a crucial Champions League fixture, but actually it's like COVID test results. There's nothing they can do about it. And when are they going to do that replay? Because I've looked at their schedules now. Could it be that they move it to the last day of the season?
That would be actually amazing. I think that would be the silver lining of all of this. That's the only way this would make sense to the majority of American audiences, by the way. Like any non-soccer fans in this country wouldn't understand like winning the league without winning a championship game. So having the last game be the like actual championship game would make a lot more sense to some people here.
I thought you meant for like the drama and like celebrity of it all, make it the last game, like really hype up to it. And then at halftime, you know, Celine Dion will come out and sing a like quick number before.
Yeah, that's how we do it here.
And yes, I purposely chose a French singer. You're welcome, everybody. Yeah. Anyway, I'm really scared to hype this weekend's game coming up in the WSL that you and I are looking forward to, just in case it gets cancelled.
Yeah, we're going to curse it now.
So at fear of it getting cancelled because basically Sarah and I are the most unlucky people in the whole world, we're still going to follow through and do something that we've been planning to do for ages. We are going to have a few drinks, watch the Arsenal-Man United game, but also filming ourselves, live streaming it.
Are we live streaming it? I thought we were just going to record something.
Oh no, I feel like we just
I don't think we were having the same conversation when we were deciding this.
Do you know what we could do? We could go on our Instagrams and then people can join us on the screen. Because you can say, like, invite people can say, I want to come on and chat with you, and we can watch all together, like 4 people max.
That would be really fun, actually.
That would actually be fun. I think we should do
like
it.
A blast.
We're deciding on air.
Yeah,
right now,
also, you know, let us know over socials if this sounds like something you'd be interested in doing. Watching the game live and also participating in our Instagram live stream.
We want to talk about Bristol. Double Bristol whammy.
I love talking about Bristol City. Whenever they come up as like a highlight, it's just some really interesting stuff, some really great games. Everybody knows we love talking about Ebony Salmon. So we've got a Bristol City centered episode today. We're going to go through
our two highlights.
Our 2 highlights are the Conti Cup Final, Bristol City versus Chelsea, and that amazing Bristol City versus Reading game that ended up getting Bristol City out of relegation status.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I'm sure it'll be a bit of a low like the Conti Cup Final, but we'll jump into it anyway for any Bristol City fan out there. But Chelsea fans will be delighted. What did you make of it?
Well, within the first 90 seconds, I was just like, uh-oh, we know how this game is going. Chelsea scored their first goal within the first 90 seconds of the game. And at that point, you're just kind of like, Bristol City is either going to come back stronger and this is going to be a pretty solid game from here on out, or they're going to break. And they broke. But for me, Chelsea aside, just looking at this game and looking at Bristol City, I couldn't understand why Matt Beard had his team come out in a final in a new formation that they'd never played in before. It just makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. So quite frankly, I think most of this is on Matt Beard. Am I saying that Bristol City would have won had they come out in, a formation that's similar or familiar to them? No, but it would not have necessarily been the absolute destruction that it was.
I completely agree. Matt Beard said afterwards that the occasion got the better of us no matter how much we tried to play it down in the week. What I would say is, number one, I really agree with you. And we're going to come on in a minute to their game against Reading. But when that game happened and I was watching that Bristol versus Reading game, I was thinking, whoa, what a setup for a team to go into a final. They've lifted themselves out of that relegation zone. They're going to Wembley. This is such an occasion for them. And Chelsea potentially, although they very rarely do, could go into it a bit complacent. You never know. They might go into it a bit lax. And Bristol are coming off the back of such an iconic win.
Mind you, Chelsea also is coming off of a very full schedule. They've been playing a lot of games. They've got some tired legs. So there was a potential for a little bit of an upset today. And there was a piece of me that was like, could this be that moment where everything just comes together so perfectly, timing-wise, everything-wise for Bristol City that they can pull this off? Because it wasn't just the last game. They've been building for the last 6 games or so. They've been playing well.
Yeah, I think you're completely spot on. I think that if things are going your way and you've had an amazing week, then don't change anything. Like, go into that game full on. And you see it happen all the time when teams lower down the table play teams higher up the table in every league across the world, and they suddenly change their formation, or they just change everything that fundamentally makes them them. And you just think, play your game, give it a go. Like, your fans would have wanted that. And I think personally, like, bit of an excuse from Matt there saying the occasion got the better of them. It's an empty stadium, like, it's not like you've got thousands of Chelsea fans screaming. This was their chance. Like, this was their opportunity to lift some silverware. And I don't think that it's a good enough excuse to say the occasion got the better of them. I think that you've got to look in the mirror a little bit and think, we could have maybe gone into this final a little bit more thinking Chelsea will be on the back foot because they might be tired. Let's try and utilise any weaknesses they might have. What did you think of KehKerrrrby? The KehKerrrrby.
I love the KehKerrrrby connection. And it's just been the KehKerrrrby connection. It's just been growing, building, just getting better and better, essentially like every week. And I love it so much. We got a Sam Kerr backflip. I don't think we've gotten a Sam Kerr backflip since she moved to Chelsea.
Everybody was tweeting about it. Like, oh my God. I can't remember the last time she did a backflip. Was it in the World Cup where she punched the corner flag?
Well, she was 100% in an Australian uniform, I think.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. I was watching and I was like, I'm seeing the backflip live. I'm seeing it live.
Well, you got to whack a backflip out in the final. Like, you got to do it. Don't listen to what they did in terms of the choice of the commentators. Who was your player of the match?
Actually, I didn't hear the commentator's player of the match.
Okay, this is good. So
I'm going with, oh man, that's so hard. God, that's just too hard. I think I have to go with Kirby for this one.
Oh my God, you just stabbed your girl in the back and you love Sam Kerr.
I love Sam Kerr. That'll tell you that I'm being objective here.
Okay, I love it. I love it.
So we also can't leave this game without talking about the unfortunate incident at the end of the game. Mielde, in the last few minutes, got extremely injured. She was carted off on a stretcher. She was given oxygen. Never fun to see that happen to anybody at any level. So thoughts go out to her. But there was a lot of chatter online about it potentially maybe should have been a red card. Helen, what do you think about that?
I think there's this thing about what stage of the match something happens, and it's really difficult because I think it was 5 or 6-0 at the time, and in the sort of closing stages. And I think sometimes things are let go because of certain things. Not that I agree with it. No, I don't. Overall, no, I don't think it was a red card. But you know me, I rarely think things are red cards. It causes controversy.
I was going to say, we had this debate last week. If anybody who didn't hear the episode, we were talking a lot about red cards because there was one given in the first, I think, 10 minutes of the game we were speaking about last week. And I said timing doesn't matter, a red card's a red card, and you disagreed. So naturally, it makes sense that you would say that now too.
Hey, this is just who I am, girl. Who I am. No, this is me.
I also just want to point out to anybody who's listening that You can only hear Helen. I can see her. And she is wearing a Lucy Bronze t-shirt while she claims to not be a City fan. So I got to blow up her spot every single time I possibly can. So I just need to just shove that in there real quick. Before we move on to our highlighted game of our episode, what is the next game we're speaking about, Helen? It's not City. I'll give you a hint.
It's not City. It's got City in the title, but it's not Man City. It's Bristol City versus Reading, which people are saying, and there's lots of this sort of floating around, the WSL game of the season so far. You got to admit, it's up there. It's up there.
I think it was one of the most exciting games. Do I think it was like the best soccer played? No, but it was definitely one of the most exciting games. And the result of it was obviously the relegation spot switched from Bristol City to West Ham. So that's really exciting as well.
So going into that game, obviously, Bristol City were sat on the bottom of the table. They basically needed that win to lift themselves off. And I think you say it almost every week, but it's so, so true. Reading, you just don't know which Reading's going to turn up to a game. Mm-hmm. So it had potential to be a really exciting fixture. Basically, Bristol needed the win. They needed the momentum to go into that Chelsea fixture. And if they won it, they knew what was going to be the reward, which was that much needed lifting off the bottom of the table, which I don't think has happened all season. I think they've basically from day one been there at rock bottom. So the result was 3-2 to Bristol, which is huge in terms of the league, but also in terms of a result itself. You know, if it's 3-2, that must have been a mint game. So it was one of those fixtures
because it was close and there were a lot of goals.
Yeah. Do you think this, first, before we kind of go into the game, do you think this was the 11 that Matt should have taken to Wembley in that formation?
Yes, no question. Why are you changing something that worked so well?
Yeah, ignore your opposition.
I mean, that's like 101, right? You should prepare for a game. Obviously, you have to take into account who your opponent is. But if you focus only on what your opponent's doing and not on what you're doing, you are going to lose that game. You have to focus on what you do best and just do that. And
totally.
He didn't.
Totally. So let's start with Reading. What did you make of it? Did they feel unlucky? What are you saying?
I don't think it was unlucky. I think Bristol really deserved to win this game. Reading, I have to shout out Rachel Rowe. She, for me, was Reading's player of the match, and just overall for the whole season has just really been impressive. Absolutely the heart and soul of this team, in my opinion, emotionally, tactically. She put everything on the line all the way down to the last minute where she got a red card, which we'll get into also. Also got to shout out her goal. She was the one who knocked in Reading's second goal. It was just stunning. She caught the keeper out of position, chipped it essentially like with a little spin on it to the back top corner with her left foot. It was beautiful. Had to shout her out for Reading. Overall, Reading, they really controlled the game. 22 shots, 7 on goal compared to Bristol's 12 and then 4 on goal. And they had 64% of possession. And that I think tells a very accurate storyline of the game. Sometimes statistics tell an accurate storyline, and I definitely think that does. They controlled the pace of the game with little spurts here and there where Bristol were able to cause a little chaos, but overall Reading were able to control it. Bristol City was just really able to make their attack more dangerous at the end of the day.
I think that what we're starting to see throughout this season as she gains more and more confidence is it's like kind of like you've got this team which are really suffering, but they've got like Alex Morgan in her heyday up front. In Ebony Salmon, she's just absolutely unbelievable. So you can give her 1 or 2 opportunities and she will, put them away. She just has that ability. And I just love the fight that this team has.
Absolutely.
Like going down 1-0, sat at the bottom of the table, you just think, when will Bristol City give up? They spent the entire first portion of this season sat at the bottom of the table without a win. And now they've lifted themselves off the bottom. And in the last 5 games, they've lost 2. They've had 2 wins and a draw in the last 5 to lift themselves off the bottom. Will they ever give up?
Yeah, and I mean, I also want to point out, it wasn't just that they went down 1-0. Like, this team has so much fight. They went down 1-0. They came back and they tied it 1-0. Then they went up 2-1. And then Reading came back and tied it. So now you've basically had the wind taken out of your sail twice if you're Bristol City. And then to come back and put away a 3rd goal, Ebony Salmon, in the 79th minute, that is some fight in this team, and it is so fun to see.
I don't think we can just say the words Ebony Salmon and not talk about the goals and the assists.
Absolutely.
The assist looks like nothing that special. And when I'm honest, when I was seeing it live, I was like, oh, good goal or whatever. When you actually watch how she places that ball, it's such a good ball. Can you describe it a little bit better than just it was such a good ball? Because I'm not really giving it much.
Ebony Salmon gets the ball with her back to goal, kind of in the middle of their attacking half. Turns, and she has all of the space in the world. And that's mistake number one, leaving Ebony Salmon to turn and run at you with all of the space in the world. That's not even when she's most dangerous, but you have to put somebody on her. She turns and she sees Wellings streaking diagonally across the field right along the 18. And Ebony Salmon just plays a beautiful ball to split both of the center backs as Wellings runs onto the ball, and all Wellings really has to do is just slot that ball with her left foot past the keeper, and it's in. So Ebony Salmon really setting that goal up so perfectly.
What I will say quickly, going back to the goal that they let in, it's one of those situations for Bristol where it's like there are opportunities sometimes on defence where you can create attacks by turning the ball over and passing out of defence. But with the first goal that they let in, it was a get rid situation. It was right in front of the goalkeeper in the danger area, and it was just a case of actually putting a foot through it. It was just such a simple one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lack of communication too, and unfortunately we saw that a lot in the Chelsea game. Some goals that Bristol is giving up are based on miscommunications and poor clearances.
Back to that Ebony Salmon, the Ebony Salmon experience, I'm going to call this fixture.
Yeah, we've done goal number 1. Perfield puts in goal number 2. Do you want to talk about goal number 2, Helen?
Perfield, I love that goal. I think I wrote in our notes, in our show notes earlier in the week, oh my goodness, Perfield. And then like obviously in the 80th, oh my goodness, Salmon in block capitals. I don't think I could give it anything else.
Do you think you can find any words for it now, or do you think you're still just at the oh my goodness stage?
So it kind of comes from nothing. It kind of just lands at her feet and she doesn't take a touch. And I love it when a player scores and they don't take a touch, because it's like controlling the ball first obviously is ideal, but she knew she didn't have time. She's on the edge of the area, but she smashes it, but she manages to lift it over the keeper. I'm not saying it is like it, but it reminds me of the Caroline Weir Manchester United goal, where it kind of lifts over the keeper, but there's power behind it, and you just think, how on earth have you managed to get power and a chip of sorts? It was pretty beautiful with her left foot as well, and she's kind of like leant back. I can't think of like how you could practice that on the training ground. It was just kind of a moment where she took a swing at it and it just kind of lifted over and into the net. Really good work by Perfield. That final goal though, the 79th minute of the game, it's 2-2. You just think if it's going to go one way, it's going to go to Reading, and it's just going to be a killer blow for Bristol, who would have got a deserved point out of the game. And I'm going to say from nowhere, but actually Bristol were playing quite a lot of those looping balls over the top. And Harrison makes a cross from the halfway line, right on that right-hand side, basically in the dugout, right by her manager, swoops in over the top, 3, 4, 5 players in between, and it lands at the feet of Ebony Salmon. And any other striker, any other player, I just don't think would have had the ability to bring that ball down. I think the commentator, if anyone goes and watches it, the commentator just kind of sums it up. He's like, oh, because it's just amazing the ability she had to bring it down.
I think I heard the commentator call it an instinctual goal, and that really stuck with me. I love that, because this was Ebony Salmon doing what Ebony Salmon does best. She is using her pace to run in behind the defense. She found a pocket behind one defender and to the right of another defender. And that ball played in beats the defender that's closest to the ball. And Ebony Salmon had already beat the one that she was in behind. So now it's Ebony Salmon having beat 2 defenders one-on-one with the goalkeeper. And she's doing what she does best, and instincts take over, and she's able to just slot that home. And it was absolutely stunning. And you have to watch that and see her just throughout the season in this game and just think, oh my God, I am so excited to continue to watch this young player develop, because we are in for some really fun goals from her. Let's talk about that celebration, Helen. What happened in that celebration? Because I know you love it.
Oh, yeah. I loved it. So she scored 80th minute, 3-2. That's the team lifted out the relegation zone. and she like almost swoops behind the goal, sort of over the touchline, and she puts her finger to do the shush celebration, and I was like, oh. And for me, it was like, when it happened, I even made that noise, by the way, oh, because it's like, shut up, critics, shut up, everyone said that we were gone, that we were down and out, but she's smiling at the same time, and you're just thinking, that's her going, yeah, I'm absolutely mint. And I just love the confidence of the girl. I just think she's brilliant.
I absolutely love it too. It had Alex Morgan sipping tea vibes to me.
Oh, I hate you. You were winding me up so much today.
It was very just like, yeah, come at me. We're going to do our thing. And I know none of you believe in us, but we believe in us, and take that.
As I said a million times before, it has lifted them out of the bottom of the table. So they now sit above West Ham. I think the overall maybe con to take away from this, there's so many pros, would be just work on those defensive qualities, know when to get rid, know when that you have the ability to pass it out. But my big question for you, Sarah, is what we saying? West Ham, gone? Bristol, gone? Villa, Birmingham, or too soon to tell?
I mean, I want to say it's too soon to tell, because you really can't make a prediction right now. It's so close at the bottom of the table. Bristol and West Ham don't play each other ever again in the rest of the season. If I had to say right now who I think is being relegated based on like the past 5-6 games, I think it's West Ham. Based on the fact that you watch them play and they just don't seem like they have any wind in their sail. They seem like they're on a downward trajectory, which is unfortunate. I hope that changes. But if I had to pick, that's what I'd say right now.
It's absolutely mind-boggling that we're sat here in March saying this when Bristol City have a goal difference of -44. It's absolutely mind-boggling, but that's the amazing thing about the WSL League. And I agree with you. And I think there's a certain irony to the fact that Matt Beard happens to be the one that's taken Bristol above West Ham, when West Ham were the team that fired him like, a few months ago. So I wonder if he sits at home at night and just goes like, no, I bet he doesn't. Sorry, West Ham fans, that's really mean.
Well, he's also a temporary coach, we will say. He's in there because their permanent coach is on maternity leave. So we have a bottom of the table battle. We have a top of the table battle. Check out this transition. Ready, Helen? We have a top of the table battle, including Chelsea. Now, Chelsea's in the Champions League, which we already discussed. And Helen, we put out a Twitter poll about the Champions League today.
We certainly did. The Champions League draw has been done for the next round. And so what we did before going on air tonight, just a really quick summary of what you guys think is going to be the outcome of the next round. So the results are in. You said Bayern Munich will beat Rosengard. You said Manchester City will beat Barcelona. You said Chelsea, overwhelmingly said Chelsea will beat VfL Wolfsburg.
Whoa, you just skimmed right over that. They said City will beat Barca?
I know.
Wow.
Right.
That's going to be a fun one. I disagree with the masses, but I respect it. That's a strong decision. We all know that you think City's going to win, Helen.
I'll be sat there and
get a vote here.
Shit. And obviously, the final one, they believe Lyon will beat PSG or Sparta Praha. I'm saying, obviously, I don't think it'll be very close. I really feel like Twitter results and these Twitter results are indicative of the landscape of women's football, because we're now in a place where there's loads of coverage of some leagues and very little of others. So I think that we're kind of taught Lyon are amazing. They're the best team of all time. They're the best team in the world. We're told Chelsea are the biggest, most mighty force in the world right now. And what I will say is that there aren't enough hours in the day to watch all of the top fixtures, because most of them are played on a Sunday afternoon, kicking off at about 2:00. So Sarah and I really struggle on Sunday afternoons to prepare for this show, because we're watching coverage of a million games at once. But what I will say is I think there is a slight naivety about like how quickly clubs are changing, and like Lyon is a prime example, because Lyon versus PSG, as we keep going on and on and on and on about, Lyon are sat second in the table at the moment, and they've not had the best season. They've scraped a couple of like wins against teams you wouldn't expect, and PSG having a really good season, and Lyon have sold a lot of their star players. And meanwhile, the only club in the entire after today, actually, in the entirety of Europe that hasn't lost a game this season is Barcelona. And overwhelmingly, everyone says that City are going to beat Barcelona. And they're the only team that are walking games. They won 5-0 against Valencia today, who are a mid-table Spanish team. They walked against Atletico Madrid, and Chelsea really struggled midweek against Atletico Madrid. That's 19 out of 19 fixtures they've won in the league. So I think there's an interesting thing. I would like to explore this more, talk about the teams left in it.
I think it's really interesting. I think you're completely right. You know, if you're not in Spain, the chances that you're going to get to watch the women's Division 1 in Spain are very, very small. Same with France. I feel lucky, and I'm sure you feel lucky, that I get to watch both the NWSL and the FAWSL. It's not always like that. We obviously can't watch Australian games in real time because that happens in the middle of the night. But in terms of this time zone, it's very difficult. So I think you're absolutely right that there's the lack of coverage leads to maybe a misconception, and it will be really fun and interesting to see Champions League results because, you know, it's possible that there aren't any WSL teams in the final.
It's totally possible.
So you heard it here first, because Helen does think Barca is going to win the Champions League also. And I know that this is totally separate. That didn't, like, I completely agree with what you're saying about coverage. And it's so unfortunate because I want to be able to watch a Barca game every weekend. And I want to be able to watch a Lyon or a PSG game every weekend. I can't. I can watch highlights or I can watch it later.
As a result, I am going to do the 8 contenders left in the Champions League as a Patreon episode this week, patreon.com/The Woso Show. I'm going to do a special on each of the clubs and maybe speak to somebody who really opposes me, maybe a super Chelsea fan. Drop me a DM if you want to come on and have a debate. Can't wait. Let's go around the world a little bit more. We kind of just did, but let's keep going around the world. Around the world, around the... I have to do the intro. Don't laugh at me. I have to do it. I hope that everybody loves that. I'm sure that they do. A little soothing lull. All I'll say, we haven't had any complaints, and if we get a complaint, then I stop, and that's how it goes.
All right, let's do it. We were just talking about Barcelona, so we are going to stay over here in España. In the Spanish league, Real Madrid beat Atletico Madrid 1-0 in the Madrid derby. Real Madrid have 47 points and still sit in a close third, just 1 point behind Levante, while Atletico Madrid sit in fourth place at 42 points. Barcelona, as we said, continue to dominate, and we sincerely hope that all Champions League's roads lead to a Barca-Chelsea clash. I said we, I mean me. Sorry about that, everybody.
Don't you drag me into this. No games in the Serie A today, but there were games in the Italian Super Cup. There was a shocking result, though, in that Super Cup because Juventus, who everybody will be quoting earlier on me saying that every team in Europe has dominated, Juventus lost. They lost today 2-1 in the first leg of the final stages against Milan. That's their first loss since 2020. They're top of the league with 15 wins out of 15. Their next leg is on the 24th of April, which is wild to me that there's such a huge gap between this fixture and the next one. But plenty of time for Juventus to prepare for that second leg.
All right, moving into the French division, the game of the year that we already talked about was postponed due to COVID. This was Lyon versus PSG, as COVID cases were on the rise and the game had to be postponed until a date to be determined. Third and fourth place teams Bordeaux and Paris FC played each other on Friday, with the fourth place team Paris FC squeaking out a victory 3-2. We just talked about a 3-2 victory and how that's just a wonderful game. So it really was. Go and watch the highlights of that. Lots of goals.
La Liga Femenil in Mexico is still the closest league race to watch. Only 4 points separate the top two teams. UNAL, which is the Pumas, sit in first with 25 points. Atlas 1 point behind at 24. Monterrey in third with 22. And Guadalajara in fourth with 21. Second and fourth place teams Atlas and Guadalajara face off on Sunday in a game that reached a 3-3 draw, which is just wild. It leaves the table as it was, walking away with 1 point each. Honours even, as they say. This league remains hot, and we will update you each week on what's going on there, and we'll try and get videos up.
Woo-wee, I love this
such
league.
A fan.
Oh my goodness.
They play in such interesting locations. They usually it feels like they're in a park. Sometimes they're just, honestly, there's a camera and stuff, but they're just in the park. There's someone in the background walking a dog and you're like, oh, okay, love it.
Oh, completely. It's unfortunate. Sometimes it looks like like one of my high school games that got filmed.
I want to see that footage. I want to see you splitting the defense.
That was just another weird comment, Helen.
I really meant that. Like, literally want to see you split. Okay.
You know what? We'll play soccer one day when restrictions are lifted and you come visit me in New York.
No, because you're good.
We'll go play soccer. You can come play with me and one of my teams, and we'll get somebody to film us and put it online for everybody to see.
At that really exciting note, let's go for an advert break.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
Getting into a topic that is a little sadder to talk about, but I feel necessary to bring up. On Friday evening, the Everton Women's Stadium broke out in flames, Walton Hall Park. It was reported that the fire burned strong for about 30 minutes before firefighters were able to get it under control. So we bring this up here because investigations are showing that the fire was most likely started deliberately. And I say most likely because obviously the investigation isn't concluded, but that seems to be where all roads lead. And obviously we can't jump to conclusions about who started it and what the motive was behind it. However, I do want to take a moment to recognize that it was hard to not see this headline and immediately jump to the conclusion that this was an act of hate or violence against women's soccer, which was really disappointing.
So just to cut in there, it's been a really, for anybody outside the UK, because our audience is like around different parts of the Western world, this has been a really crazy week in the UK for like women's rights movements.
If anybody in the US is a little bit tapped into UK news, we've heard, but it hasn't been reported in mainstream media, so I'm happy we're getting into it.
It's not, I don't want to go too far into it because it's totally irrelevant to soccer, but I just think what is important is what Sarah's just said there about how it's hard not to jump to like any conclusions about could this be a targeted thing. So last Wednesday in central London, really busy area of London, a young woman called Sarah Everard was kidnapped, likely sexually assaulted and murdered and left dumped in some forests just outside of London in Kent. And it turns out that the person who has been charged is a police officer who was on duty but had just come off duty about half an hour, 45 minutes before kidnapping her. And obviously it's an ongoing investigation. However, it's been a huge week for women coming out and saying like, I want to be able to walk home at night without my keys like locked between my fingers, without carrying a rape alarm in my hand. I just want to walk around in a civilized society without the risk of being raped or murdered. And so this happening at Everton Women's Stadium, although it could just be, you know, some teenagers messing around, it has been a week of a massive women's movement in the UK. So it does feel poignant, I guess would be the way to put it. I'm not accusing anyone or saying anything like that, but it does feel pointed and very poignant, I guess would be two ways of putting it. As updates come in, we'll obviously share news through our social media, and I'm sure maybe in another episode if we hear anything further about it. However, we've heard that the Wednesday 17th of March fixture against Chelsea will be going ahead because it's the stand that has been completely destroyed. So obviously no fans or anything like that are allowed in the stadiums yet in the UK. So they will be going ahead with that fixture.
Moving over to the United States over here, we are very excited as the NWSL very, very quickly approaches. April 9th is on our calendars. The Challenge Cup will begin. We have our teams playing preseason games. We got everything on lock. And Helen and I are going to be covering these games throughout the Challenge Cup. And we would love if anybody who is a strong supporter of a specific club and wants to help us cover all of these games, because there's going to be a lot of games in a short period of time, far too many for Helen and I to watch and cover all by ourselves. So we would love if anybody who is a strong fan, knows a lot about a specific team and wants to help us cover that team, please reach out because we'd love our coverage to be as extensive as possible.
And that includes, just so everyone knows, what we did last time, which is we had some amazing blogs up on our website. We will be doing that again and trying to get some really cool graphics together again. So we're going to try and do the whole furore. I'm really hoping that we're able to pull it off again because it was amazing last time. Kind of an up and down episode today, Sarah. I'm not going to lie. I felt joy. I felt shock. I've been reminded of this horrific week as being a woman in the UK. And then to finish it off, excitement, because I love the Challenge Cup and I live for this.
I'm tempted to go back and comment on being a woman in the UK. I will say this, and if we want to cut it, we can. It is so universal. Like, I read that story and I felt those same feelings that I see everybody in the UK expressing as well. But, that's what we seek to provide in these episodes. We take you on a journey, some highs, some lows, some happiness, some sadness. We're here to feel the emotions and really sit in them and then move through them. I hate that I just said that.
The final emotion that I would like to share is Zen. Breathe in and breathe out. No? Okay.
No, we're not ending our episode like that. So I think that the next time I speak with you to record, Helen, we're going to have some mimosas in our hands and we'll let everybody know through social media if we do plan on doing this Instagram live. I'm not kidding. Please do reach out and let us know if you would be interested in, hanging out with us and watching a game with us. I think it might be a fun chat. And if not, Helen, we're going to decide whether we do an IG live or we're just going to record after we've each had a few drinks and hopefully listen back and know.
Yeah, I'm actually, you know what, even thinking about this, I think this could be actually hilarious. So I'm in. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I've been Helen.
I've been Sarah.
We're the Women's Soccer Show. Bye.